What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be going through all of the cups that are going to be on this season and taking a look at the top meta ranked Pokemon so that you know what to build this season. So without further ado, let's just hop right into it. So the number one, the first cup that we're going to witness this season is the Scroll Cup. We've seen the Scroll Cup only once before. It is a 1500 CP league, a great league, but only water, fighting, and dark type Pokemon are eligible, and only Primarina is banned. Notice, not Azumarill and not Brionne. So let's take a look at the top ranked Pokemon for this cup. And taking the number one spot, we have Araquanid, followed by Primeape, Mandibuzz, Shadow Kingdra, Morpeko, regular Kingdra, Annihilate, Shadow Gyarados, which got a buff this past season, but still nothing. Same with Murkrow, I guess, is the first one that got a buff this season with the Foul Play buff, now doing more damage. I am curious, does that make Foul Play a decent alternative to Drill Peck? No, Drill Peck is still better, but Foul Play is an option. But you'll notice pretty much none of the new Pokemon are rising. I guess Palmot with Brick Break. Brick Break did get a buff this season. You could also opt for Double Nuke Palmot, however, but Brick Break does do more damage with that stat bonus now. You've got Jellicent with the Shadow Ball buff. Shadow Ball now able to pace Strict 4, which is incredible for Jellicent. Also able to double up on those, which is really, really strong. You've got Confusion Glade, which is interesting. There's Sableye with the Foul Play buff. There's Tentacruel with its new coverage move in Payback. So that's probably the biggest one there. You've got Brick Break Hakamo down at number rank 27. Shadow Fly Hydreigon down at rank 29. Some more Foul Play users. Is there anything else that got a buff this season that we want to take a look at? Yep, there is Shadow Milotic with Dragon Tail, Aqua Tail, and Wrap. That looks like a very fun Pokemon to run. There's the regular Milotic. There's Shadow Ball and Spiritomb. Pretty much everything else looks the same. Actually, you do have Ludicolo with Astonish, Weather Ball, Water, and Leaf Storm at rank 62. But you'll notice these averages are getting quite a bit lower. So these are not super strong Pokemon in this cup, but you do have Morgrem down at 70. We'll just take a look at the top 100 for each cup. There's your Celio with Powder Snow, Surf, and Body Slam, and followed by the Shadow. I think that is going to be just about everything. There's Blaziken with Ember and Aura Sphere this season. And I think that covers the top 100 besides Powder Snow, Walrein. Lucario not even opting for Meteor Mash there. So yeah, that is the Scroll Cup. You'll notice that Brionne wasn't even in this meta, and when I looked it up, it doesn't even come up. So that's a little bit interesting to me. It was a very strong Pokemon the last time the Scroll Cup was around, and now with the Charm rework, I'm curious to see how it does. The next cup we're going to take a look at is the Holiday Cup. And the Holiday Cup is another 1500 CP League format with only normal, grass, electric, ice, flying, and ghost type Pokemon. So this is a 6 typing meta, which does make it a little bit wider. That said, at the number one spot, we've got Licky Licky with the Shadow Ball buff, followed immediately by Dunsparce, which is then followed by the Powder Snow buffed Alolan Ninetales, and then the newly buffed Doublade with both Shadowclaw and Sacred Sword at the number 4 spot, followed by Alolan Marowak. And then there's your Aegislash. Aegislash now able to double up on the Shadow Balls is absolutely huge for it. There's Ninetales once again. There's Aurorus with the Powder Snow buff. There's Cetitan at rank 11 with Powder Snow, Icicle Spear, and Superpower. A very strong and cool Pokemon there. There's your Celio with the Powder Snow buff. You've got the Shadow Celio at 16. I think. Oh, there's your at rank 20. You've got Shadow Alolan Sandshrew ahead of Alolan Sandslash. So that is actually crazy. Powder Snow, Night Slash, Gyro Ball, pretty cool moveset there. There's your XL Citadel, not too far behind Cetitan. There's your regular Sandslash as we discussed. Also running Powder Snow. Powder Snow is just a strict better move. Previously, they were the exact same stats because Powder Snow got same type attack bonus or stab, but now that it is on paper a Shadow Claw clone with the stab bonus, it actually becomes more damage per turn, which is nice for that. Everything else I think is going to be pretty much the same. Obviously, you've got Powder Snow, Bomb Snow. There's your Fury Cutter, Leaf Blade, Sacred Sword, Kartana, so very cool there. Unfortunately, Belly Bolt still making its name with a Thunder Shock instead. There's your regular Alolan Sandshrew. Raikou not opting for Shadow Ball instead with Wild Charge and Aura Sphere. There's your Shadow Amora, which is an XL Pokemon as well. There's Shadow Aurorus actually right behind it. And yeah, so the Powder Snow buff coming in clutch for a lot of these Pokemon. Other than that, I'm not seeing too many other on paper buffs that we haven't seen in this previous season. And as I scroll through these, I think that is becoming more and more true. There's your Brick Break Palmot once again. There's Glalie, but opting for Rollout instead of Powder Snow. I think that kind of makes sense because it gives it like a unique play, and the charging is really nice. Obviously, that pacing is still good, but it doesn't kind of differentiate itself enough from Frostlass in that sense with that moveset. There's Powder Snow Piloswine. Looks like Ice is just going to be really strong in this meta in general. There's your Powder Snow Cast Form. Unfortunately, no coverage on this Pokemon. There's the Foul Play Sableye once again. Regular Piloswine, Walrein. All Pokemon that got buffed this season with Powder Snow. And that is pretty much it. Actually, you do have your large Gourgeist there with Incinerate, Shadow Ball, and Seed Bomb. A very cool moveset and a Pokemon I'm looking forward to trying out. The next meta we're going to take a look at is actually the Holiday Cup once again, but this time for the Ultra League. So the same typing Pokemon are available. However, this is for the 2500 CP format. So let's take a look. We've got Aurora taking the number 1 spot, followed by Licky Licky, Cetitan. Some of these we saw in the Great League. Kyurem is not one that we saw in the Great League, but makes sense as a Dragon Breath user is able to get to those Glaciates very, very quickly. Glaciate lowering the opponent's attack. Pretty much all of this is the same. You've got Doublade at the 12th spot. This is an XL Pokemon. It's going to be very, very dominant this season. There's your Powder Snow, Alolan Ninetales, and your Sandslash. You've got Hisuian Avalugg actually doing slightly better than the regular Avalugg because of that Powder Snow buff and that Rock Slide, Icy Wind coverage. Rock Slide also getting rebuffed in the past season, so it makes sense. I think this typing is just a little bit better, even though it is volatile to both fighting and steel, which is a little bit unfortunate. That said, a lot of these Pokemon look pretty much the same as the Great League, so we don't have to go as in-depth for the Ultra League, especially because we mostly cover Great League on this channel. But there's your XL Jellicent at the 41 spot, Ludicolo with Astonish and Weather Ball, Water at the 42 spot, and then everything else, like I said, is kind of just the same. So XL Arctibax, wow, that is very interesting, actually. Over Baxcalibur is insane. Kartana once again. There's your Gourgeist. Toucannon making its name for itself with the Beak Blast Community Day and Drill Peck for coverage. So not even opting for Rock Blast. Going triple flying moveset there. And yeah, I think that's enough of this meta. The next meta we're going to take a look at is the Sunshine Cup. This is another Great League format, so only 1500 CP and lower. Only normal, fire, grass, and ground type Pokemon are eligible, and Charizard is not allowed. I actually don't think I saw that, so if we do see a Charizard in the rankings, we can kind of just ignore that. But this is only a 4 typing meta, so let's take a quick look. And take a look. Yeah, so there's your Ember Charizard at the number 2 spot, I believe. So yeah, we can just kind of ignore that in these rankings. Hopefully it doesn't shake up the others, but you'll notice loads and loads of normal types and flyers in this cup. It is truly incredible. There's your triple flying moveset Toucannon, once again, followed by the Shadow Toucannon at the number 2 spot. Drampa as a Dragon Normal. Followed by Cordelia. Unfortunately, Cordelia is still making the top meta in all of these cups. There's XL Trumbeak. This is the pre-evolution of Toucanon. There's Dodrio with Drill Peck and Bravebird, not even opting for Trailblaze, followed by Gligar. There's your rollout user and Licky Licky, which seems to be top meta in literally all of these cups. So definitely a Pokemon you probably want to build for this season. And then, actually, I wonder what the pacing on Licky Licky is now. It is straight 4 with the rollout. So that is truly incredible for that Pokemon. Definitely a big buff there. More normal type Pokemon, more Pokemon that we've seen in past seasons. All of these flyers going absolutely insane. You got Ember Torkoal at 23, which is a cool one. I'm interested to see if Alolan Marowak does really want to run Shadow Bone this season, or if it wants to just opt for Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball is 5 more energy, but it does quite a bit more damage. So if you're really going to only make it to 1 charge move, Shadow Ball would probably be the way to go. That said, there's your Powder Snow, Shadow Abomasnow at the rank 29 spot, which is going to be really tough against all the flyers. I mean, yes, you hit super effective as well, but I'm seeing flyers, I'm seeing rollout users, I'm seeing fire types. I think it's going to be a tricky Pokemon to run. There's your Peck Fletchinder, Rufflet, not even opting for Rock Tomb, but instead Brave Bird and Fly. We'll have to see. XL Leap. And as you can see, these are getting pretty low. You've got your Ember Aurasphere Blaziken, though, at number 42. Claydol still opting for Rock Tomb and Ice Beam over Shadow Ball. And you know, as soon as you see Flygon, that the rest of these are going to be kind of garbage, because Flygon with Sand Tomb Dragonclaw is really not that great. And I think all of these didn't really receive any buffs this season other than your Powder Snow users, which we've already mentioned enough. So I think we can just move on to the next meta, which is going to be the Retro Cup. Now, the Retro Cup is another Great League format, only 1500 CP and below. Dark, Steel, and Fairy type Pokemon are not eligible. So this is going to be more of a look at an old meta. And no surprise, you're going to see absolutely loads of dragons, because if you ban Fairy and Steels, the only thing that resists Dragon, then Dragon is incredibly neutral, and running a Dragon type fast move pretty much ensures that you cannot be walled. That said, Dragons, of course, have super effective play into other Dragons. So if you can use a Pokemon that uses Dragon type coverage without actually being a Dragon itself, it's going to be very strong. That said, you also have just some neutral powerhouses in like Galarian Corsola and Araquanid making the top meta. Licky Licky once again. Oh my goodness, this Pokemon's everywhere. But and then you've got of course all of your top meta dragons. Interesting to see Primeape up there. Primeape is just a really good sim hero. Lunatone, though, taking the number 13 spot in this meta as a Psywave user with Weather Ball Ice. And that is why right there, because it has super effective coverage into those dragons. And that is so important for this meta. Of course, you do have your Ice types, which hit for super effective damage into these dragon type Pokemon as well. So that's why you're seeing Pokemon like Celio rise to the top. And there's your Dragon Breath user in Gyarados, which is not a dragon itself, which makes it a very strong pick in this meta as well. And then there's Soul Rock, slightly below Lunatone. It does have super effective coverage into the ice, which is nice with both Weather Ball, Fire, and Rock Slide. Because if it's a Water Ice, of course, Rock Slide is still super effective, but Weather Ball is only neutral. And there's another Powder Snow user, an Aurorus. I think we've talked about those enough. There's Spidops, which is kind of a new Pokemon this season, as well as Shadow Toucanon with Beak Blast once again. Not even opting for Rock Blast in this meta either, even when it would be super effective against the ice, but I guess that's just because it's so much of a better move. Drill Peck is so much of a better move than Rock Blast, that even if it was resisted, I think Drill Peck is the way to go. So I think that makes sense. There's your XL Citadel, Abomasnow once again. A lot of these Pokemon we've seen plenty of. Your Brick Break Hakamo. Charizard, still opting for Ember is interesting. Maybe you run Dragon Breath Charizard in this meta. That way you just can't be resisted, which would be very positive for it. Whereas, Ember leaves you susceptible to be weak to those water types and resisted by dragons, which is not good. Milotic, this is a big one. It's a shadow Pokemon, so boosting that Dragon Tail damage, and then Wrap to lower the opponent's defense. to increase that damage even more. I think it's a very interesting Pokemon. It's very bulky, and what, like we've already discussed, having that Dragon type coverage in this meta is going to be incredibly strong. There's actually a meta kind of similar to this that we're going to take a look at towards the end of the video as well. A Pokemon that I haven't seen on here is Dunsparce's evolution to Dunsparce, which is also running potentially Dragon Tail. So that could be a solid core breaker as well. I'm skipping by a couple of these, but we've kind of already talked about it. Milotic and Toxtricity and stuff. Or not Toxtricity, but you get the idea. There's Titan with Powder Snow, Icicle Spear, and Superpower. This meta looks a little bit wider as these averages aren't quite as low, but it's still not super great. Finally, Delmise has reached a nearly top 100 ranking with its new access to Brutal Swing, giving it a nice bait move before it gets to those Power Whip, which is really nice for it. But yeah, let's take a look at the next meta, which is the Ultra Premier. So if you're unfamiliar with the Premier Cups, what this means is that Legendary, Mythical, and Ultra Beast Pokemon are not eligible. But because this is an Ultra League format, that means 2500 CP Pokemon are eligible. So let's take a quick look at what that means for this meta. And no surprise, it's basically just the regular Open Great League, Open Ultra League, just without the legendaries. So you've got XL Corviknight at the #1 spot, followed by Kingdra, which has been absolutely everywhere in a lot of these metas as well. Dusknoir and Lapras, Grumpig, Shadow Malamar, Licky once again. I think Licky's going to have to go in the thumbnail. This is insane. There's Clefable finally with Fairy Wind Swift and Meteor Mash making a name for itself in this meta. Otherwise, pretty much everything in here is already top meta. There's your Shadow Ball, Jellicent, actually Doublade. This is a new one, obviously, for the Ultra League, but it is an XL Pokemon. There's your Shadow Blaziken with Ember and Aura Sphere. Your Fly Shadow Hydreigons at number 23. Aurorus once again. There's Shadow Toucanon. So a lot of these Pokemon that we keep seeing over and over look like they're going to be really strong this season. And it kind of focuses on a very few of them. But there's your Blaziken once again, Ninetales as well. And then you have finally XL Ludicolo for the Ultra League with Astonish, Weather Ball, Water, and Leaf Storm. There's your Payback Tentacruel, which we've discussed once before as well. I think there's your Milotic again. It's the same Pokemon that got buffed this season. You're not seeing a whole lot of variation. There's your Solrock. It's interesting to see Solrock and Lunatone kind of switching which one is better in each league. That is kind of funny. But other than that, this meta is very, very similar to the Open Ultra League, just minus the obvious. Berserk is actually an interesting one, getting a buff this season with Foul Play. Does have decent pacing, and then close combat is nice for it as well. So that is interesting. Seeking all the way, XL Seeking, that's a tough one because you have to have a 4-star or a perfect there. Okay, so the next cup we're going to take a look at is the 2026 Championship Series Cup. Very similar to the NAIC Cup in this past season. We've got the EUIC meta here, and that is a 1500 CP format where only Bug, Dark, Normal, and Dragon type Pokemon are eligible. However, Fighting, Flying, and Steel type Pokemon are not allowed. And then Legendary Pokemon, Mythical Pokemon, Mega Pokemon, and Ultra Beasts are not eligible. And the following Pokemon will be allowed. So you've got Seeking, Politoed, Milotic, and Frostlass. Even though they're not in the allowed typings, these 4 Pokemon specifically are allowed in this meta. And then we also have a ban list. Wigglytuff, Chansey, Crustle, Diggersby, Ribombee, Araquanid, Turtonator, Morgrem, and Morpeko. So banning 3 of the main fairies is very interesting, but leaving Grimmsnarl, Morgrem's evolution. So maybe this is going to be a cup focused around Grimmsnarl because we've seen this before in a meta where Dragon type Pokemon are eligible, but Steel and you're banning the fairies. Suddenly Dragon type Pokemon are going to be absolutely everywhere. This meta is actually already on the new PvPoke rankings, and you see Spidops with Bug Bite taking the #1 spot. And that is because Bug is also not resisted pretty much by anything in this meta. Bug is neutral into Bug. It's super effective into Dark. It's neutral into Normal, and it's neutral into Dragon. It's resisted by Fighting, Flying, and Steel, but those types are not eligible. So this Pokemon is going to be absolutely absurd this season. And that's why you have the Miltank and the Licky once again. You've got all these rollout users. And finally, actually, we have Dunsparce with Dragon Tail, Body Slam, and Rock Slide in this meta. So not even opting for Drill Ranger because there's so many bugs, it looks like. That said, you've got Ariados as a poison, which is a bug bite resist. So there's like your first one there. And then Dragology down at number 9 as a poison dragon, getting in as a dragon, resisting the bug bites as well. So those are probably going to be very important for this meta. Of course, you've got Miltank with Ice Beam coverage, Licky with Earthquake coverage, Dunsparce with Drill Run coverage. So yes, there is super fighter coverage in Dragology, which is a little bit unfortunate. But then you have some crazy things in here like Cricketune with Fury Cutter, X Scissor, and Aerial Ace. There's your Grimmsnarl at rank 13. You'll notice Seaking is actually opting for Mega Horn over Drill Runge because Bug doesn't have a resist, it feels like, in this meta. Charjabug is opting for Bug Bite as well. So yeah, it's the Bug and Dragon meta, which is very, very interesting. And I think Grimmsnarl is the only fairy, and it doesn't even resist Bug because it's half dark. There's Beedrill, but once again, using Bug Bite, Shadow Pinsir with Fury Cutter, Parasect, Cleavor. Like, what is this? We've got our Dragon Tail Milotics in here. Here's your pseudo fairy type in Delcatty as an XL Charm user. It's a pretty bulky Pokemon and one that I will be looking at in this meta. Shadow Beedrill. There's Incineroar. Incineroar opting for Double Kick. Double Kick is interesting. Now, why would you do Double Kick over anything else when Double Kick is resisted by Bug and there's so many bugs? Why not run Fire Fang? That is interesting, but we'll have to see. You have Wormadam Sandy, which is very interesting. This is a Pokemon that I actually do have built for some reason. Tyranitar with Dragon Breath. I didn't think we'd actually see this Pokemon get literally any relevancy at all, but apparently in this meta, this helps because it does have super effective coverage into the dragons without taking super effective damage from dragon. Unfortunately, because it's half dark, it does take super effective from bug, and we've already seen so much bug in this meta, so we'll have to see. I doubt it's going to be meta, but there's Fly Hydreigon, a bunch of more Fury Cutter users here. There's your Frostlass that was, for some reason, allowed Hisuian Samurott as a dark with the Sacred Sword Icy Wind moveset is literally so cracked. That is a very, very cool moveset. And I wish I had that Pokemon to give a try because that looks like a bunch of fun. But yeah, pretty much everything else is what we're used to. Ooh, Bug Bite XL Swadloon. That's one I'll probably take a look at. XL Larvesta is a pretty cool one as well. But yeah, XL Whirlipede with Bug Bite. This is a surprisingly bulky Pokemon, believe it or not. No, it's not because it doesn't get to the full CP, but yeah. Mudslap Kangaskhan with Brick Break. That's one that got a buff this season. Okay, let's take a look at the next meta. Okay, so the next meta is the Love Cup. Now, the Love Cup doesn't have specific rankings on PvP, and it's actually very hard to make custom rankings because only pink and red type or pink and red colored Pokemon are eligible. So I went ahead and I went through every single pink and red type Pokemon I could find, and I actually put together a custom group to look at a potential meta for the Love Cup. And here we have it. We've got Crustle taking the #1 spot, followed by Licky once again. And then there's your buffed Solrock with Weather Ball Fire. There's your buffed Clefable with Meteor Mash. Otherwise, these Pokemon were seen in past seasons of the Love Cup. Tinkatuff is a new one. Did we see? Yeah, we saw Tinkaton. That's a new one as well. There's your Morgrem. That's also a new one as well. At the rank 15 spot, that is super, super cool. Getting an XL Morgrem would be super beneficial for this meta, or pretty much this season in general. You've got Crocodile with the Brick Break buff. There's your Milotic with Dragon Tail. Sunny Cast form is interesting. Probably wasn't seen in the past season because Ember wasn't great. Peck Fletchinder at the 23 spot. Ember Embor at number 24. A couple fire types in here with like Incineroar as well. Otherwise, a lot of these were seen in past seasons of the Love Cup, so nothing else is too new here. I guess Centiskorch is another new one as an Ember user. You've got some Fury Cutter users as well. XL Pawnyard's pretty interesting. Sylveon, Beware, XL Ledian with Bug Bite. Surprised we didn't see that in a couple of the other metas. Crawdont, Hatchram, Delphox, Chansey. Wow, these rankings are getting greasy towards the end there, but pretty interesting meta there. A lot more limited than the other ones we've looked at. And then finally, the last one we're going to take a look at here is the Mega edition of the Master League. Of course, when you put these Sims in, it's just going to be the Mega Pokemon rising to the top. But the number one spot is Mega Latios this season. So Dragon Breath, Aura Sphere, and Dragon Claw. It's been very solid in these past rotations of the Mega Master League. We've also got Mega Garchomp, regular Palkia Origin. Even with the Spatial Rend nerf, it's still taking the number 3 spot. You've got Kyurem White, followed by Xerneas, which did get that Geomancy buff this season, which is really nice for it. Huge buff there. Origin Dialga. There's your Primal Kyogre. Now Waterfall Avalanche Blizzard. Now that is a moveset. I don't think that's the moveset you want to go for. You could opt for probably Avalanche Origin Pulse or Avalanche Surf, maybe even Bolt Beam coverage and Avalanche Thunder, but probably not Avalanche Blizzard. Mega Scizor, of course, because why not? Eternatus, yeah. So there's your Meteor Mash buffed Metagross. Meteor Mash did become 45 energy this season, assuming they don't change it even more, which would be even more absurd. So they're probably not. There's your Fly Shadow Hydreigon at the rank 20 spot, actually out doing Yveltal in this meta, which also got a buff this season. Yveltal now has a 100% chance to boost its defense with Oblivion Wing, and Oblivion Wing is also a very decent move. So this Pokemon is going to be very strong. Mega Aggron. There's your Shadow Metagross. I don't know why Mega Tyranitar would be opting for Bite when Dragon Breath is right there. I think Dragon Breath is probably going to be the way to go in this meta, given all the dragons. So, yeah, even like Groudon, Primal Groudon is opting for Dragon Tail there. So, but other than that, yeah, this meta pretty much looks like the Master League with thrown in some Megas. So, there's your Shadow Tyranitar with Dragon Breath down here. So I don't know what the other one was up there for, and regular Tyranitar with Dragon Breath. Okay. So I guess Bite is better for some reason in certain situations, but yeah, that is all of the cups that are going to be available this season, other than the Open Great League, of course, but I've already created a video on that. This is specifically for all the different cups this season and what you should really focus on. So Pokemon that we saw a lot, just to recap, include Licky Licky. We saw a bunch of times. We saw Morgrem a bunch of times. We saw Milotic a bunch of times. These are all Pokemon that got buffed this season that you probably definitely want to take a look at. I feel like there was a couple others, but you can kind of scroll through and figure out which Pokemon you want to build this season. Obviously, top meta options for all of these are good, just because the Powder Snow buff, you can pretty much do any Powder Snow user is going to be better this season. They're just strict buffs is basically what I'm trying to say. But yeah, that's going to be pretty much it for me from this video. I appreciate you all for tuning in for this kind of longer, in-depth look at all the different metas. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, peace.